Hello and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Friday the 13th of January. If you're suspicious, then this is a good day to be suspicious. If you're living in southwestern Ontario and it's a nice day, today's the day to get your motorcycle out because everybody gathers, all the motorcyclists gather at Port Dover on Lake Erie. It's sort of near Hamilton, Turkey Point, places like that. Burlington, the Hamilton area. They all the motorcyclists get together for Friday the 13th, and they drive to Port Dover. So if it's a nice day in Ontario, then there'll be a lot of people there on their bikes. So I hope they have a safe day. I've been talking about homelessness and fear, two kind of heavy topics all week, and I don't know about you, but I need something lighter. So I thought today I'd talk about perspectives and opinions and what happens. Because we know, like right now, there's a lot of stuff being talked about in Alberta about opinions and surveys about the politics and stuff are going out left, right, and center. And, well, we all know there's stuff happening in the States and people who tell the truth about themselves and not. We all have that. Doesn't matter which country you're in. We've got people who fib a little. But so today I thought, you know what, I want to talk about something that harkens back to my childhood and it seemed absolutely so important at the time. And now it seems utterly ridiculous. And it's all about choice and opinion. I have here the samples, well, something like the samples from the good old days back. I am dating myself here. For those of you who are younger and don't understand, I'm talking about, the good old days when they used to have, you go to places like, the beach, or you go to a fair or something, and they'd have a taste test table with 2 bottles of something or 2 glasses of something with a paper wrapped around them so you couldn't see what they're there, and you do blind taste tests for Pepsi and Coke. Now, I'm cheating because this isn't the real stuff. This isn't regular Pepsi and regular Coke. This is Diet Pepsi and Diet Coke. But you remember those days when they had those blind taste tests and you had to pick which one you were? And if you're in the Diet Coke camp, you would never choose Diet Pepsi. Or if you're in the Coke camp, you would never choose Pepsi. In the Pepsi camp, you'd never choose Coke. And they never ever had a taste test for Dr. Pepper. I never understood that. Or Mountain Dew. Or root beer. Root beer is my favorite drink. And I only drink Diet Pop for various and sundry reasons. Don't get on me about aspartame and stuff. For me as a diabetic, to drink regular pop is killer. So pick your poison. I'd rather be able to drink some and take in aspartame than to drink regular pop and, well, not drink it at all because I couldn't. So anyway, it's beside the point. But remember back in the day when we had these debates and people got really upset. I remember being in about grade 6 and we had our science fair at school. And we all had to pick a topic for our science fair, something that we did. There's always that kid who chooses the planet, the solar system, and then they make these amazing models of the sun and all the different planets. And that's back when Pluto was a planet, before it wasn't a planet, when it was a planet again, and all that stuff. Before we knew about, we knew about the black hole, but we didn't know much more than that. We certainly weren't sending people to Mars yet back in the day. Well, there were those people who did that, who we all know that those people who won the first prize for those beautiful solar systems had a little bit of help from their parents. And then there were those kids whose parents were like, no, this is your project. You have to do it. And we'd have things like the blind taste tests. We always had one of these. Another one that really was great and really makes me laugh thinking about it. And I wish I had thought of this, because this one kid in my class actually conned her parents into helping her buy, well, they bought them for her, 1 pack of every possible kind of chewing gum that was on the market. We lived in Hanover, Ontario, and the market wasn't very big. We had a Becker's. That would be kind of like a 7-Eleven store or like your local variety store. We had a Becker's. We might have had a Max Milk. And we had Zellers, I think, at the time, and Zehrs was our grocery store. So she didn't really have a lot of packs of gum she could purchase, but her parents went out and shelled out the money to buy her a pack of every kind of gum. And she did these tests on them. How long you chew it before the flavor ran out, how big the bubbles were, how, she put them in water to see if they disintegrate, all of these things. She had all 5 or 6 different tests for her bubble gum. I don't think she won a prize, but she totally had the coolest exhibit, the coolest experiment at the science fair. But we also had the blind taste test. And that was cool because we all got up to go and, I know exactly which one I want. I love Diet Coke. I love Coke, or I love Pepsi. And 9 times out of 10, we were wrong. We were so wrong. We were like, absolutely, I choose that one. That's my favorite. That's Coke. Nope, that was Pepsi. And vice versa. Because the truth is that, well, as an adult, I have a more distinguished palate. And I can tell the difference. Well, I can tell the difference between Diet Coke and Diet Pepsi a mile away. You see, I have become a Diet Pepsi aficionado. Diet Coke in a pinch. If they don't have Diet Pepsi, I take Diet Coke. Sometimes on a hot day, a cold beverage, and I'm not really a drinker, so a cold diet soda really hits the spot. But the thing is, when we were kids, we really didn't know. We really didn't know. Most of us weren't allowed to drink enough pop that we'd know the difference. But it was the idea of it. But the same thing could be, if we'd done a science experiment on the way we as grade 6ers, I think it was either grade 5 or grade 6. So it was at James A. McGee School in Hanover. Anyway, if we had done some social experimenting on us kids in our class, we probably would have discovered a lot of things, because we really didn't have great opinions about which kind of pop we liked, because guess what? Our parents bought the pop that was in our houses. Our parents influenced what we thought we liked because of what they made available to us. If our moms or dads went grocery shopping and brought home Coke, guess what? We probably thought we liked Coke the most. Or if our aunts and uncles that we visited really were Pepsi fans, maybe that's what we were exposed to the most. And hence that's what we thought we liked the best, especially when we couldn't actually tell the difference. The same thing happens with our kids, I think, when we talk about what we believe in. And this is where our politicians and stuff come in. This is where the adult part of this video comes in. When we hold our opinions strongly, and there are many of us who do, the people around us are aware of that. Our kids in particular, they listen. Little pitchers have big ears. Do you remember that? That's really making me sound old, but little pitchers have big ears. They hear things even when we're not aware that they're listening. And they take that in. And with, like the grade 6ers in us that were unable to discern the real differences between Coke and Pepsi, little children, young people, even our teenagers today who are inundated with information and opinions on social media and all of the ways that they get information, their brains aren't yet sophisticated enough to be able to do the real heavy discernment of filtering and figuring out what's important and what's not. What is gut instinct? What is a gut reaction versus a well thought out, discerned opinion? And I think we have to be very, very careful, because we get out there. I'm aware that I can share my opinions here and know that my 12-year-old niece, Danielle, who lives in Ontario, could very well tune in to Church at Home with Reverend Rachel Parker and check me out. And her mom's probably not going to think anything of it because it's Aunt Rachel. What could she do? Some of the things I've talked about, I try to keep them really clear, like I try to keep them, PG, but they're not meant for kids. And Danielle might be thinking, well, I really love my Aunt Rachel, and I think she's brilliant, and she's a very influential person. I don't think she thinks that, but I'm hoping. But, she could indeed listen to some of the things I say and say, well, that's gospel. If Aunt Rachel thinks it, then that's for sure. Then guaranteed her mother's going to sit down and listen to her father and say, Aunt Rachel's so wrong. But do they know to have that conversation with her? Do we know, or do we pay enough attention to our children and the young people around us? And even the not so young people, but the teenagers or the young adults around us, to actually sit down with them and say, do you really know the difference? Are you able to discern between what you really like, what you really believe in, and what you're just told to believe in? I don't know about you, but politics, religion, big decisions, life-changing decisions, need to be treated with more respect, and they need to be treated with more gravity than a blind taste test when we are making decisions for our lives and for the lives of our children and our families and our communities, our homes, our provinces, our states, our countries. And we need to model that for our young people, because I think a lot of what they see is more the brainwashing of which one is the better one, without understanding that there are actual differences that we can research and find out about and make a reasoned and informed decision about which one do we like best and why. And why is it important to our future? This isn't that important to our future. Some people might argue with me that it is, but for the most part, you know what I mean. But the big things that we argue about and talk about that our young people are listening and maybe not understanding the whole picture, those are big, important things. And it needs to be treated a lot more like those solar systems at the science fair, where the adults actually participated in helping, than leaving our kids to the chewing gum or blind taste test science experiments. We need to step up and pay attention to who's paying attention to us, and take responsibility and take it seriously, the impact that we have. Because we might be the mom who brings home the Coke to drink, or the dad who brings home the Pepsi to drink, but are we also bringing home the politics, the religion, the opinions about racism or sexism or genderism? What are we sharing with our kids without really recognizing what we're sharing with them? Just something to talk about. It's not a lighthearted thing at the end of a long week, but it's not quite as heavy as fear and homelessness. So have a great weekend. I will be here on Sunday for Gospel on the Go for the second Sunday after Epiphany, and I will be back on Monday for Church at Home with Rachel. God bless you. Have a great weekend. And thank you so much for being a part of this community. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate all of the people who gather with us. God bless everybody.